The camera opens not on a movie set, not in a stadium, but in a moment of silence after impact. A crowd reacting half a second late, the sound of gloves against canvas. A career built not in front of cameras, but before they ever arrived. Before the red carpets, before streaming platforms, before internet debates. There was a fighter learning how attention works. You don't chase it, you earn it. The story you're about to hear is not simply about fame. It is about how a public identity forms, fractures, and transforms in the modern media era. This documentary follows the full trajectory of Gina Carano, from athlete to screen presence to one of the most discussed public figures in entertainment conversation today. The purpose here is not celebration or criticism, but understanding. How someone moves across industries, how audiences attach meaning to a person, and why certain moments ignite massive attention while others pass quietly. To understand the present discussion surrounding Gina Carano, we first have to go back to the environment that shaped the discipline and mindset that defined every later decision. Gina Carano grew up in a household where physical training and competition were familiar concepts rather than distant ideas. The influence of sports culture was not theoretical, it was daily structure. The expectation was not simply participation, but effort, consistency, and accountability. In youth environments, many future performers explore arts or academics as identity anchors. But here, physical capability became a language of communication. Performance meant measurable results. You either completed the task or you didn't. Education followed a normal academic path, but extracurricular interests gravitated toward athletics and conditioning. Instead of performance rehearsals, training sessions became routine. Instead of memorizing lines, movement patterns were memorized. This difference matters because later public reactions to Gina Carano often misunderstood the internal framework. The mindset of a trained fighter processes criticism differently than that of a traditional entertainer. Feedback in sports is immediate and blunt. That habit carried forward into every public interaction. The early 2000s marked a turning point. Mixed martial arts was not yet the global entertainment product it would become. It existed in a transitional stage between underground competition and structured broadcast sport. Women competing in that space faced an additional barrier. There was no established template for visibility, sponsorship, or narrative storytelling around female fighters. The path required not only performance, but proof of concept. When Gina Carano entered professional fighting, the objective was simple: compete. But the unintended effect was visibility. Viewers unfamiliar with women's competition in combat sports suddenly had a recognizable figure associated with it. Media coverage initially focused on novelty, then gradually shifted towards skill evaluation. This progression is important because it built an audience before any acting career existed. The audience was not inherited from Hollywood. It was accumulated through repeated exposure to real outcomes. Recognition expanded quickly. Fight broadcasts began highlighting matchups not only for competition, but for audience engagement. Promotional material emphasized personality, presence, and accessibility to general viewers. At this point, Gina Carano was no longer only participating in a sport, but helping define how that sport presented itself to mainstream viewers. This role would later shape casting decisions in film and television, where authenticity in physical performance became valuable. The transition to acting did not happen abruptly. It emerged from the realization that film productions increasingly required believable physical performance without excessive editing. Action cinema had entered a phase where audiences could identify artificial movement. A performer with legitimate combat training reduced the need for visual tricks. Early roles were selected not for dramatic range, but for physical credibility. Over time, dialogue expanded and character presence grew. A major breakthrough came when Gina Carano appeared in high-profile action projects.
Viewers recognized that the movements looked different from traditional choreography. Instead of stylized motion, the action carried weight and timing associated with real training. Directors began using longer takes because the performer could sustain sequences without cuts. This changed perception from novelty casting to functional casting. The rise to widespread recognition reached its peak when Gina Carano entered a major serialized streaming production. In the era of episodic online storytelling, recurring characters build audience familiarity faster than films. Weekly appearances allow viewers to attach personality traits to a character over time. The character portrayed by Gina Carano combined physical authority with restrained dialogue, reinforcing the image established years earlier in competition. At this stage, career momentum appeared stable. The path from athlete to screen performer had been completed successfully. However, the same environment that accelerates recognition also amplifies disagreement. The modern entertainment landscape merges performance identity and personal expression into a single public feed. Social media removed the separation between character and individual. Statements once confined to private conversations now exist alongside promotional content. Controversies began emerging through public posts and reactions to them. These were not production-related disputes, but interpretation conflicts. Audiences debated meaning, intent, and appropriateness. Media outlets reported reactions rather than events, and reactions multiplied visibility. The result was a shift in narrative. Coverage moved from career milestones to discourse analysis. Supporters viewed statements as personal opinion, critics viewed them as public messaging, and companies evaluated brand association. This brings us to the most discussed phase and the reason Gina Carano is trending again right now. The current trend originates from a continuing legal and professional dispute connected to a past production departure. While the initial separation occurred earlier, the story has re-entered public conversation due to renewed legal filings, public commentary, and broader industry debate about employment standards for performers and online speech. The renewed attention began when updated court proceedings and interviews were circulated through major media platforms and then amplified by social networks. What makes this moment different from the original controversy is timing. When the initial departure occurred, the discussion centered on the specific statements. Now the discussion centers on precedent. Audiences are asking whether entertainment companies function as employers, publishers, or partners. The case surrounding Gina Carano has become a reference point in a wider conversation about contractual obligations, corporate image management, and personal expression rights in digital spaces. The trend accelerated after commentators across multiple industries began referencing the situation as an example in broader debates about workplace speech policies. Legal analysts discussed employment classification. Creative professionals discussed brand expectations. Viewers discussed fairness and consistency compared to other public figures. Each group used the same case but framed it differently. That multiplicity of interpretation pushed the topic back into mainstream trending status. Another reason people are discussing it now instead of earlier is the evolution of streaming platforms themselves. When the original event happened, streaming services were still expanding rapidly and prioritizing growth. Today, they operate as established corporations with long-term brand strategy. Decisions made years ago are now evaluated against current policies. The passage of time allows audiences to reassess earlier events without immediate emotional reaction. The conversation shifts from reaction to analysis. The importance of this trend in the career of Gina Carano lies in identity transformation. Earlier career stages were defined by physical performance and screen roles. Now, public perception centers on symbolic meaning. Whether viewed positively or negatively, Gina Carano has become associated with a debate larger than individual projects. The career narrative moved from athlete to actor to case study in media culture. public reaction remains divided but more measured than during the initial controversy. Some audiences emphasize contractual accountability. Others emphasize individual autonomy. Media outlets increasingly use neutral language, focusing on procedural developments rather than emotional framing. This shift indicates the story has matured from incident to reference point. It is cited in discussions unrelated to entertainment, including corporate governance and digital communication norms. Current status places Gina Carano in a unique professional category, not fully separated from entertainment, yet not defined solely by performance roles. Future possibilities depend less on traditional casting and more on how the broader industry resolves similar cases. A legal resolution or settlement could influence casting risk calculations across multiple companies.